How to fund your film. Most filmmakers don't fail because they can't raise money. They fail because their film isn't attractive to investors in the first place. Funding isn't about asking for money. It's about positioning your project the right way. At the end of this video, you'll understand how film funding really works and the one critical piece most filmmakers completely overlook. So before we get into that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the tips and insights we share about filmmaking, funding, and distribution. So let's jump in. If you're trying to figure out how to fund a film, you're probably asking, where do I find investors? And this stops most filmmakers in their tracks. All of a sudden they feel paralyzed because they most likely don't have Hollywood connections. They might not know wealthy people. They don't even know where to start. And many just wish they had a list of qualified investors that they can email and hope one of them will say yes. Just note that I said email or even DM, like not even call. Most filmmakers are afraid of the questions an investor will ask and afraid that they won't know how to answer the question. And that's a big possibility. Because the thing is investors invest in you and they invest in the confidence that you can deliver what you say you can do. And most filmmakers don't know how to answer the question of, how will I make my money back? They only have a vague ideas make investors walk. So the question of where do I find investors is important, and I'll circle back to that a little later. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is this: most films are not investable. And until you understand what makes a film investable, not just creatively exciting, but financially viable, funding is going to feel impossible. And even if you were given a list or dropped into a room of 100 qualified investors, you probably would not be able to close them because of this very reason. It's why so many filmmakers get stuck in development hell, not because their script isn't good, but because their project inherently isn't investable. So let's talk honestly about how funding actually works, what investors actually care about, and why most filmmaker proposals never move forward. So as creatives, we all believe our project is brilliant. We have blind faith in our creative vision, and that's not a bad thing. You need that to survive this industry. But here's the reality: the creative is only half of the value proposition to an investor. Every investor wants to invest in something fun, imaginative, elevated, beautiful. That part is assumed. What they don't see in most projects is the business foundation holding that creativity up. Simply put, you need to make your project appealing to investors from a business standpoint, not just a creative one. It's not enough to just have a great story. Investors want to know that they will get their money back. They need to see a solid distribution strategy, projected earnings, and a clear path to profitability. It's all about showing that your film will generate a return on investment, not just saying we'll go to a film festival and get a deal. That's not a strategy or a clear path to profitability. That's hope. So without a business foundation, your project only works if you have dumb money, which is harder to find. And what I mean by dumb money is someone who isn't really financially savvy, someone who just really believes in you, and usually someone who really can't afford to lose the money. Like, you may be excited about getting them on board, but those investors can be dangerous because unqualified investors can come back later and cause serious problems. If you want real funding, your film has to be structured as a real business. And every investor asks one question: how do I make my money back? And if you can't walk them through that process clearly, confidently, and realistically, the conversation ends. This is why distribution knowledge is not optional. You have to understand the distribution process and know how to approach potential sales agents and distributors, because that is how the film will make its money back, and hopefully profit too. You need to know how to package your film in a way that makes it attractive to the market. Streaming platforms, theatrical releases, international distribution. You need to know what those buyers are looking for and tailor your film to those demands. Not in theory, not in this horror film made 20 million on Box Office Mojo, not in horror movies have 42% of the market share. You have to be realistic. When you understand distribution, you look professional, you look prepared, and you show them that you're protecting their investment and you know exactly how they will get their money returned to them. That's what investors respond to. The second thing filmmakers almost never do is securitize the film. So what that means is minimizing the risk and safeguarding the investment. If you're raising $1 million, your goal shouldn't be to raise $1 million in cash. On most real indie films, you should be raising far less than the full budget in cash. That happens through getting tax incentives or rebates, regional grants, brand sponsorship, maybe some small crowdfunding efforts, pre-sales or minimum guarantees. All of that reduces how much cash equity you actually need. And it also tells an investor that you've done the work. You're not a pie-in-the-sky thinker. You're not a pie-in-the-sky filmmaker. You're actively protecting their downside. The bottom line is you have to make the film investable. If you don't, you're just hoping someone will write you a check. Indie producer, global sales agent, and co-founder of Indie Film Ins and Outs, Mark Klevanoff, my business partner, he sees proposals every single day. And he says, honestly, 99 out of 100 are complete nonsense. They usually have no finance plan, no distribution plan, no realistic casting strategy. Instead, they say things like, oh, I want Mel Gibson to star in it. This movie is like these 5 other big studio movies. This horror movie made $20 million, so ours will too. But that's not business. Box office comparisons pulled from IMDb or Box Office Mojo are unreliable and meaningless without context. Those success stories are anomalies, not the norm. Smart proposals, on the other hand, look like this. Here's the budget, here's the proposed cast, here's cash flowing the film, here's who distributes it, here's how revenue realistically comes back. You see, those types of projects are the ones that move forward. They give confidence to the investor. Now, I know this can kind of sound overwhelming, but we've got something that will help guide you through this process. I'm talking about our Creative Producers Filmmaking Roadmap. It's a 5-step system that professional filmmakers use to plan, fund, and distribute profitable films consistently without sacrificing vision. This roadmap will help you step by step in your film funding journey, from building a project that investors want to fund to the specific methods and tools you can use to make your film investable. It's designed to ensure you're not just raising money, but raising it in the way that leads to long-term success. So click the link in the description below to access the roadmap and start planning your film funding strategy today. Trust me, it's going to save you time and it will give you a clear plan of action to make your film a success. Now, once you've put together an investable project, that's when you can start seeking funding options. But there's no secret room where investors hang out. Finding money is a numbers game and a networking game. But here's what matters the most. The more buttoned up the project is, the more doors open. A serious project moves from one set of hands to the next, and a sloppy, kind of delusional project dies immediately. Also, and this is important, if you're thinking all I need to do is partner with a production company who will cash flow the movie, first of all, it's not as easy as it sounds, but even if a production company fully finances your film, it's not your project anymore, it's theirs. So if you want to keep creative control, equity investors are the path. And it's harder, but it's the way you make sure you retain that full creative control. So one way to find investors, you can think about watering holes. Where do people with money in your area congregate? Is it a country club, a museum, a gala? One of our students discovered that people who tend to have boats tend to have money. So he's going to events in harbors where they usually go. So get creative. Make a list of 4 or 5 establishments in your area where wealthy people may go. And go there, meet people, talk about your project. If your project is good and investable, it will have legs and the networking effect will come into play. I stress, do not sit at home. Go out and meet people. Also, the person in front of you may not be the investor, but they may know the person who is. So become a networking machine. Networking is key. The more connections you have in and out of the industry, the easier it will be to find investors, backers, or even people willing to work for lower rates to get a film made. You never know who's looking to invest or collaborate. So put yourself out there. Now here's where it gets even deeper. Networking is essential, but not just at any level. You've got to be going to the right festivals, meeting the right people, and making your project visible. As much as the internet has opened the doors for things like self-distribution, real connections are made in person, especially at film markets like Cannes or the European film market. You need to meet the people who can help make your film successful, not just send out emails. But don't just think of festivals as a place to get funding. They're a place to create relationships, to show distributors your passion, and to position your film as something that can sell. It's about getting face to face with the people who can help make your film successful, not just sending out emails. Again, meet people in person. Go talk to people. Now that you understand more about how to make your film investable so you can actually close money, let's talk about some additional resources for funding. So there are a lot of government and private grants available for filmmakers. These can be a great way to get non-repayable funding, but the competition is fierce. You've got to have a solid proposal that not only showcases your film's potential, but also fits the criteria of the grant you're applying for. But they are out there. Pre-sales are also another great option, especially if you've got a solid script and talent attached to your film. You essentially sell the rights to your film before it's made, securing financing through distribution deals in advance. This is a common route for larger indie films. It doesn't really work on smaller budget, but it can work well if you already have a distributor in mind or a project that's very sellable and marketable. And you can also look for regional incentives that can help flesh out your financing plan. Another option is crowdfunding. So websites like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Seed and Spark allow you to raise money directly from your audience, but here's a catch. You often need to invest full time to build a campaign. You can't just post a link and expect people to give you money. The platform usually doesn't promote you themselves. You've got to show them why your film is worth supporting and make sure you're engaging with your community well before the campaign kicks off, and then continuously promote. And even then, look at crowdfunding as seed money or finishing funds, not for funding six-figure films unless you have big name talent attached. But at the end of the day, closing money and raising your full budget gracefully is contingent upon having an investable project. That is the fastest path to the green light and to making a profitable film, which helps you get to the green light. So yes, there are many combinations to funding your film through investors, crowdfunding, grants, pre-sales, networking, and more. But funding a film isn't about luck, it's about making the project investable, understanding distribution, reducing risk, building real relationships. It's not just about getting the money, it's about ensuring that your film will make money. You need to understand the business side of filmmaking as much as the creative side, and once you do, that's when the real opportunities start to open up for you. You know, raising money is never easy. You're gonna hear no a lot, but if you keep putting together amazing projects with solid investable plan, you'll eventually hear a yes. And when you do, it won't feel like magic, it'll feel earned. And then you'll go do it again until you get the green light, and then the fun starts. So if this breakdown helped you understand how film funding works, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos where we break down funding from a real world producing perspective. We also have other videos on distribution and producing, so go check those out as well. And if there's a funding question you're stuck on or a topic you want us to cover next, drop it in the comments. We read them and they help shape what we dive into next. Have a good day, and we'll see you in the next one.